Hey everybody, this is Jeff Veale, the business guru, coming to you once again with 15 minutes of fame. I've got a very interesting guest for you today. And if you want to be on 15 minutes of fame, think about it, guys. A TV commercial would set you back about $30,000. 10 radio spots, they'll set you back, well, $3,000 or $4,000. And heaven forbid, if you want to hire a copywriter of the ilk of the man I'm going to introduce you to, that could even cost you $1,000 as well. But this is all totally free. It's all about you. It's 15 minutes of fame, where we talk all about you and your business, and we put you across 8 or 10 different social channels, including YouTube, and put all your links there for people to reach out, and we help make you famous. So about my guest today is a gentleman by the name of Steve Plummer. Steve's a marketing strategist and copywriter, and quite a good one. And his company name is a tongue twister, guys, at Symmetry Marketing. And he's in the marketing business, of course, done it for a mere 15 years plus. He provides bespoke strategic marketing and copywriting services and training of the same for B2B and B2C companies. Key achievements, this guy was famous. I'm not sure what happened to him these days. Mal Emery. Mal Emery's personal copywriter for 8 years. That's out of Perth. Retained by ASIC, listed top 200 companies for 18 months. Author of 2 books, a speaker and a trainer. Personal motto or philosophy: words are spells, and indeed they are. Interesting fact, he writes poetry and publishing an anthology of original poems under his first 2 given names, Steve Vincent. His contact information will be in the chat, and it's my pleasure to welcome today in the afternoon over there in Sunshine Coast, Steve Plummer. How are you, Steve?
Thanks for having me on. Looking forward to our chat.
No trouble at all. Let's get started. Tell us about your journey and what inspired you to pursue your career path. Where did it all come from?
Yeah, so I started my working life, Jeff, as a high school teacher. And yeah, I climbed the ladder in that. And if I go back half a step, I think I followed the model, you know, work hard at school, get good grades, go to university, get a secure job. And
the system.
Everything will be fine, right? And
sure.
It
fell
was
for the system.
Yeah, it was until it wasn't.
Yeah,
right? And then until I started questioning, is this all there is in life? The system, as you call it. And so, but before that, I had worked my way up the ladder, if you like. I was a head of department. I was a deputy principal. And I was working really long hours and you know, it's a stressful job, let's face it. And
no doubt.
when I say I left, no one ever says why, right? Everyone just goes, yeah, I get it.
Yeah, to put up with kids like me, that's probably why.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, Veale out.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. And the other thing I was doing at the time, I was also a freelance journalist. I was one of Australia's leading boxing writers. Yeah, and I've interviewed everyone from back in the day, from Costa Tszyu to Jeff Fennick to Danny Green and so forth. And that was really a really interesting sort of part-time gig that I was doing when I was while I was teaching. The problem was it didn't pay very well. And, you know, we had 4 little kids at the time, a mortgage. I would have had to take a 20 or 30 grand pay cut to go into journalism. And that just wasn't viable. You know, that wasn't viable for us, you know. And so I was at a seminar in Sydney one day, and there was a whole lot of business marketing people. And there was a guy sitting up the front of the room, and he was quite stressed, getting up at 5:30 in the morning, getting home at 6, not having time and energy for my kids, earning about 95 grand as a head of department deputy principal kind of thing. And you know, the guy at the front of the room says, "Oh, I've got 4 kids." So I poked my ears up. He said, "I work from home as a copywriter." Oh, I pricked my ears up. He said, "I'm earning 6 figures and I work the hours that I want." And so I'm just there going, "Oh my God, that's the exact opposite to the life I lead." And so I want that life. So they call it stalking these days, but you know, I went and harassed him, and he became luckily my first mentor and introduced me to the world.
I call it modeling.
Yeah, to the world of marketing. Took me under his wing and showed me the ropes. And you know, that was 2007, 2008 maybe. And the rest is history, as the cliche goes. But
fair enough.
Yeah, that was my start in it.
Your grounding. Yep. What's the most challenging aspect of your work, and how have you overcome it?
I think coming from government employment and from education, the hardest part was not the writing, but the hardest part was the selling, interestingly,
Yeah,
because
dealing with the potential clients is a bit of, can be a bit of a pain.
Absolutely, because when you are an employee, the people are brought to you, right? But when you're in business,
yeah, you got to be a hunter.
The whole dynamic has changed, and so that was really challenging. And I'll go a layer deeper than that too, Jeff. What it boiled down to a lot of the time too, and this is part of my own personal journey, it was I had trouble asking for money, and that brought up a whole lot of personal development kind of things that I had to deal with, to move forward and feed the family. So that was probably the biggest challenge, was that whole switch in dynamic and that whole, I guess, different energy to show up differently in the world compared to, I guess, what I'd been programmed with from the age of 5. That's I'd only done one thing, was in a school of one variety or another, for what, 30 years, 20 years, 30 years more. Yeah.
Tell us about an important moment in your career that virtually changed your direction and what you were going. I guess the 4 kids and wanting to put food on the table probably had a bit to do with it.
Yeah. That was kind of pivotal, right? Unfortunately, there are no freebies in this world, and so I knew I needed a change. But like I said, because I even went and did some work experience in the local paper here, to see if I liked journalism, which I loved. But like I said, when I investigated it, who can take a 20 or 30 grand pay cut? It was just too hard. And so the interesting thing about that is that when I went to that first event in Sydney, I was surrounded by all these famous people that I'd never heard of before.
At that time,
mentioned Mal Emery, 𝐿𝐿 who you've probably heard of. He's a very big mark. And I sat next to him at that one event. He was just this Greek guy called John. I didn't know who he was.
That's right.
And so I think if there's a lesson out of that, I put myself in places where I could meet the right people. And I think I've done that at several strategic points along the way. And so that's probably maybe wisdom's too strong a word, but that's probably a learning that I've had.
Yeah, I get it.
Being in the right place and the right time.
Well, they do say if you're the smartest man in the room, you're in the wrong room, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, and that very first one I was in, I sure as heck wasn't the smartest guy in the room. The great Ted Nicholas was up the front there, doing his thing, and it was just it was awe-inspiring for someone who'd never, really been in that world. And I think the other thing I will say is that the other pivotal thing was me deciding, after so many years of humming and hawing, to publish my book, right? So, the Influential Marketer has been, it's a fairly thick book. It's
like a telephone book
per page. Yeah, day per page. It's really short and easy to read, right? And that's why business owners love it. Quick bit of product placement there, just while we can. But what the book has, and I kind of knew this instinctively, but I didn't really get it in a physical sense, in that what the book has done for me, it's given me a reason to talk to people.
Yes.
And what I mean by that, I can go to meetings, network events, I can offer that as a lucky door prize, or just as one example.
That's right.
And then I get to stand in front of my target market and say, hey, here's the lucky door prize winner. They cost me $22 to print and ship. So it's a $22 ad that's quite targeted, so having that asset, that resource, has been a really big thing in terms of, I guess, changing the dynamic or the energy within what I was doing. So they're probably two big ones. If those.
Tell me, you came across, because he's quite a legend in his lifetime, out of Perth. How'd you come across Mal Emery, and what was your experience there? Yeah,
so Mal's now retired, and enjoying life and what he's worked with and worked hard for. I first met him at that very first event I was at, and then through the guy who was my mentor for a couple of years, Brett Thompson. He was Mal Emery's copywriter, and then when Brett moved on, he recommended me. Awesome. And then I became Mal Emery's personal copywriter, and I was with him for something like 8.5 years doing the copywriting. I'm
sure Mal could spit ideas out at dime a dozen, right? Because they keep coming out, right? He's an ideas man.
100%, absolute marketer through and through, right?
An awesome guy. Awesome. I'm trying to think who I know now. He's up in Thailand now. Do you come across one of his allies, Benjamin Bloor? That name ring a bell to you?
The name rings a bell. Yeah.
Yeah, because he was his sidekick for a while.
Yes. That was a long time ago, though.
They know a lot. They wrote books like and they're great stuff, guys. They're old, but they're good. Like 500 winning email headlines. And you go, I don't need 500, but you don't get it. It might be a weight loss headline, but you just twist it around to make it a plumbing headline, but use the same words.
Absolutely.
Brilliant stuff.
Yeah.
And it's all about getting attention, guys. In your opinion, what are the key qualities or skills that have helped contribute to your success apart from your determination?
Look, I was good with words, but that was also because I was an English teacher, I was a journalist, so writing wasn't a problem, but it was also a bit of a hindrance in that I had to unlearn a lot of the things, because when we're in school, we are taught to write to communicate, not write to sell.
Yes.
And so that right to communicate stuff, you can chuck out 80% of it, right?
Right.
And so unlearning that was quite a hurdle, because I wanted everything to be perfect and grammatically right, but it's not. It's a conversation, and now when we talk, we don't speak grammatically correctly, right?
That's right. We don't say
sentences
holistically or spiritually, right? We just talk normal talk.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I teach people that I teach copywriting to is to, to keep it short and
keep it simple,
keep it punchy. Yeah. And
keep it simple.
One of the what I see a lot of these days, particularly on LinkedIn, is you can tell when someone has used ChatGTP for their post, because all the paragraphs are in exactly the same size, right? And you can just go straight away, oh, that's come from chat, right?
Yep.
So
it's an aid. I love ChatGPT personally. By the way, you come across a guy, I spend a lot of money with him. He's an awesome guy. I put him well ahead of Mal, a guy called Chris Newton out of Brisbane.
No,
look him up. He's still around. Chris Newton, and he used to write awesome copy. And I think his company name was called Results Corp. And he was with a guy who I didn't like, but he was talented as well. His name was Paul Dunn, but Chris was the giver, and Paul was the taker. Out of a two. But Chris was bloody awesome.
Okay.
And
Results
wrote,
Corp, I know. Paul Dunn, I know. I've spoken on the same stage as Paul.
Yeah, there you go. Well, you know Paul.
Yeah.
Chris would
buy
play
one,
him
give
up,
one.
but Chris was a bit like you, very humble, very laid back, very humble guy. Was Paul was more out front. Hey, I'm Paul Dunn. That type of thing.
Yeah.
But that's how it was. How do you stay motivated and continue to innovate in your field? There's all new stuff coming up all the time, no doubt.
Well, ChatGTP has certainly helped. So November the 28th, 2 years ago. That was a good motivator. What? AI,
correct. If you don't know it,
so,
you're gonna have to know it, guys.
Yeah, and so COVID lockdown. Doing things online, Zoom, like that was when we do it so much now. We do it so much now, we forget that sort of 2019. It really wasn't the done thing. It was around, but it wasn't so much the done thing.
Well, now you can make $1 million, guys, in your underpants. It's really that simple. Really
from the kitchen table, right? There you go. Finish the headline.
That's the one. They laugh when I sat down, but tell me about a recent project achieve or an achievement, Steve, you're particularly proud of. What have you done recently that we should know about? Okay,
so I've got a long-term client in the shed space in South Australia, and they sell big farm sheds to farmers, and not this financial year gone, but the financial year beforehand, two things happened that caused sales in the whole rural sector to fall off a cliff. Number one of the tax incentives, the government took it off the table, just like that, bang, it finished at the end of the financial year. And the second thing was the Weather Bureau started mentioning El Nino, El Nino, drought. So government incentive gone, drought coming, spending went, no one bought tractors, no one bought sheds. Things were, it just tough. It was just no one was buying, right? Now, they'd bought really well in the previous sort of 2 years, but no one was buying. And then in March this year, I came up with a particular promotion angle that really went against all the trends going on in the
space,
in the market at the time.
Yep.
And they did 1.13 million in sales in a month, which was
awesome.
really, really cool, going from
Absolutely.
not much
Yep.
to $1 million. That's a bigger one. Look, one other really simple one. A client asked me to look at their email that another copywriter written for them to.
I saw that one. Yep.
Yeah, to get Google 5-star Google reviews when they come back from their holiday. They're a travel agent, and
yep.
the copywriter's email, it got them 0. And I looked at it, I could see straight away what was wrong with it.
That's right.
And I rewrote it. They sent it out, and since it's only been 2 months, but it's produced something like 65 5-star reviews for them.
Awesome.
In a matter of weeks.
And reviews are very important. They're the lifeblood of a business, guys. I mean, you're going to go to a restaurant, you see one with 3 reviews and one with 50 reviews. Which one are you going to go to, guys? I mean, it's common sense, isn't it?
But the words matter, and how they were structured.
Yes.
Was the important thing, right? The other one didn't do what it should have done. And I could see that straight away.
Twisted it around. What advice would you give someone, Steve, who aspires to, say, follow up in your footsteps and become a copywriter and help people?
Yeah, Jeff, it's a little bit like that joke of, a tourist is in Sydney and says to a local, "Excuse me, sir, how do you get to the Sydney Opera House?"
Yeah.
And the local says, "Practice, practice, practice." So it's
love it.
It's very much like that. And I was having a conversation, I think it was down in Sydney from memory, with another copywriter, and I said to them also, who are your favorite old school ones? And they kind of looked at me blankly. I'm thinking, well, is it Ogilvy, or is it
Gary Halbert?
Halbert, Carlton, like who?
Yeah.
And they couldn't answer one.
Yeah.
And
_Abraham, the master.
Yeah, no, they couldn't give me Caples or any of those, those greats.
They obviously weren't marketers.
Well, they were saying they were a copywriter, and then I said, well, what trainings have you done? And also, I got a bit of a blank look. Now they're probably really good at whatever they do, but to be in the direct response space, you've got to know where it's come from to get to today. And they all laughed when I sat down at the piano, but then I started to play.
Love that one.
That's
famous. I still use that one today, as you probably do occasionally as well.
Yeah, and the old famous headline of how to get X without Y still works, right?
Yeah.
How to get what you want without doing the things you don't want. That's a go-to headline.
And a funny one, and you know this one, you're not as old as me, but you're old enough to know, guys, they ran the ad for the Bullworker, the same ad for 50 years because they knew there was another every 14-year-old skinny kid wanted a Bullworker, right? He didn't want to be skinny, right? So there's tens of thousands of Bullworkers out there now in people's garages, guys. People wouldn't even know what they were. They think they were playing violin or something.
Is that the bar that bends? Is that?
No, that was the one with it's a bar, but it's got two pulls. Pulls. And pushes as well.
And you can squeeze it.
And basically it's just using your own body weight. And it was effective. It was extremely effective. And there's many, and there's many ads like that just ran in the old. I'll date my age. I go back to the People magazine, and I used to look at all these things, People magazine and Post magazines. And if you haven't got this book, Steve, I probably believe you would have. My first book ever, guys. I'm an avid book reader. My first book ever was The Lazy Man's Way to Riches. Suited me down to the ground. You bought that one?
I do. I think I have it on my bookshelf. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an awesome book. It's about mail order, guys.
I'm also thinking of the Charles Atlas. They kick sand in my face. That kind of thing.
I took that ad word for word almost, and I turned it into a marketing story. Hey, I'm going to become a marketer. The skinny guy became a marketer, and he bashed the other marketing guy up. I made that one of mine.
David Goliath, rags to riches, the underdog, the Rocky story. It's a human connection story, right? And
I love all that stuff.
Those things are timeless. They are.
I eat, live, and breathe them, guys. Looking ahead, what are your goals and aspirations for the future? What are you up to? What are you going to be doing?
So I'm I'm looking at, well, in January, if anyone would like to join us, we're doing a marketers cruise out of Sydney leaves on January the 8th, 4 days at sea.
Is that
and
with, who's that with?
Josh.
Josh, I just interviewed Josh. He's an
Niven.
awesome guy. Yeah. We're gonna help him push that a bit. If you don't, guys, it's tax deductible, and it's about the people. It's not what you're going to learn. It's the people you're going to meet. The connection, like he met Mal Emery and made a fortune. It's the people you're going to meet, guys. The networking, the socializing, and the fun, and or give the money to a tax man. You've got a choice, right? Come on, guys. Get smart. Get smart. Get smart, guys.
I mean, I'll be teaching a couple of sessions on there. On the cruise, going to be a whole lot of fun. So that's something I'm looking forward to next year. Yeah,
and that's going to be every 12 months, guys. And let's go back for a refresher. But guys, it's about I can tell you of all people, Steve. Sorry. Basically, it's about the people you meet and the connections you make. You're not even trying. You're just being yourself, and you'll find your avatar, guys. Everyone won't be your cup of tea, but there'll be plenty of that. That excites me. I wish I you know, I'm over in the Philippines and I'm thinking about putting one over here, actually putting a mastermind over here, actually, for that very same thing. Tell me, how can our listeners reach out, or people watching this reach out and find out more about you, Steve?
Yeah, sure. If you live in Australia, you'd like a copy of my book, The Influential Marketer, that sits on a lot of business owners and marketers' shelves, and a lot of them are like mine here. It's dog-eared, it's got notes in it, and that was the whole reason I wrote it like that, so you would pick it up. It wouldn't just sit on a shelf and gather dust.
Like big yellow pages.
Yeah, absolutely. If you would like a copy of that, you go to theinfluentialmarketer.org. If you're in Australia, go to that website. I'd love to sign it for you before shipping it out. If you're overseas, get it from Amazon, Booktopia, and so forth. All of those big bookstores, it's there. So that's the first one. If you would like to contact me, just go to symmetrymarketing.com.au, and there's obviously an opt-in form there to set up a 30-minute call with me. So yeah, 2 simple actions if you would like, Jeff.
Yeah, and we'll be putting up all of Steve's socials, guys. We're going to put him across, as we will for you if you come on our show. We're going to put him across LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Reddit, you name it. We're going to put him across all the social channels, but particularly YouTube. Well, all of his links there, guys, and you'll be able to watch this interview several times over and hopefully learn a bit from 2 guys that have done it for quite a while. I've done it for 50 years, and Steve's a newcomer. He's done it for 20 years, guys. And a bit of advice to you guys: life's like a game of chess. But and Steve was there once. He was a pawn, but he decided it wasn't much good being a pawn, so he moved. Right now, I myself, I became a knight. That means I can jump all over the board, all different directions. You never know where I'm going to be next, right? But I'm certainly not a pawn. So, guys, don't be a pawn in the game of life. You know, be whatever you want to be, but don't be a pawn. You know, make things happen.
Jeff, one other thing too, I've got a free resource called the Copywriting Compendium, and that's got 52 email subject lines and headline ideas to help you. So I'll give you the QR code and the link for that as well to put in your thing.
I love the fact you're using QR codes. Are awesome, guys. If you're not using a QR code, guys, with the link, not the QR code itself, it's a link that does all the damage. If you're not using QR codes, guys, you're leaving a fortune on the table. I tell my clients all the time, but they don't listen, most of them, but that's okay. Any last words, buddy? One last thing. What's a fun fact about you that most people don't know?
A fun fact about me that most people don't know is that I was a football coach, as in soccer, and I actually coached a team to winning an international tournament in Borneo.
How awesome is that?
For my son's team in the under-12s, right? So
that's awesome. You're not doing that anymore? You're giving up on that now?
No, they've all moved on, and I've moved on from that too. But yeah, it was a really interesting experience. Oh, it was fun, and it was such an experience playing in another culture and preparing. Sure. You know, in Borneo, hot summer, like humid,
and bringing out the best in these boys and making them believe, right?
That's absolutely.
Yeah. When you coach a team, guys, I've done this myself. You got some people you got to give a kick up the bum, some you got to hug, some people you just got to let be brilliant. So it's just it's a lot about, even at that age, it's about man management. So
totally.
Thanks very much for being here today, Steve. I'm going to wrap this up now. Thanks
Pleasure,
very much.
Thank you.